3 years ago, I found one of Fortnite's rarest items with a 0.01% chance. But is it the rarest item ever? Well, I wanted to figure it out. So I dug deep and put together my definitive list of the 25 rarest items in Fortnite history. Like the Mythic Bandage Bazooka? In Chapter 2, Season 5, Epic released the Bodyguard LTM. Epic had a bunch of cool new items in this LTM, but they also threw in the decoy grenades, which had a big problem. Now, normally decoy grenades would spawn in a decoy, and when they disappeared, they would drop materials. But in this LTM, sometimes the decoy grenade would drop a Mythic Bandage Bazooka. And for some reason, it showed up as Mythic dual-wield pistols on the ground, but when you picked it up, it was actually a Mythic Bandage Bazooka, which only took up one slot. Now, here's the weird thing. When you shot this thing, it shot out bandages, but sometimes it would shoot out another Mythic Bandage Bazooka. I'm pretty sure this is a developer gun that somehow found its way into the live game, and there was a very rare chance for this to happen. And of course, the LTM is now gone, so this makes it a pretty rare item. I know you've never heard of that, but have you heard of the secret April Fool's items in OG Fortnite? For only one day, Epic put out a newsfeed message that said, on an impulse, we put extra bounce in the Boogie Bombs. And here's what they actually did. The impulse nades bounce you 10 times further than usual, which led to a lot of players falling to their death. And the Boogie Bombs actually had you jumping 10 times higher when you got hit with the boogie. This was such a cool April Fool's event, and I wish Epic would do more stuff like this, but it was only in the game for one day, so it makes it pretty rare. But is it rarer than the Porta challenge item? So this all started in update 6.20. Epic noticed a bunch of YouTubers and streamers having a ton of fun in playground mode, building all kinds of different obstacles and game modes. And one of the popular things people were doing in playground mode was doing pirate ship battles, where they would build two pirate ships and one person would have to go invade the other person's ship. So Epic noticed this and decided to add unique items to help people play these modes. They called them the Porta Challenge. They were sold in vending machines across the map, and there was a few different kinds. There was a Porta Challenge pirate ship item and an obstacle course, and they actually came in normal and metal versions if you wanted them in full metal. And honestly, I didn't even know these were a thing before making this video. So if you ended up playing with these before they got removed in Season 7, then you're one of the lucky few. But it is very rare if you played with number 22, Fortnite's unreleased sword. So in Chapter 2, Season 7, players discovered a copper sword in creative, and it wasn't even intended to be in creative. They had to be very clever with their devices to make this item spawn, and there were special maps that you could go into to play with the copper sword. This weapon didn't really do a lot of damage, and it didn't have a lot of functionality. And apparently this was supposed to be a non-mythic version of the Infinity Blade, but it never came to the game. So Epic ended up scrapping this item, but not before people figured out how to bring it into creative for a limited time, and now it's gone for good. But they ended up reworking the next very rare item on this list, number 21, the gold coin. And I'm not talking about the current gold that we have on the map that was introduced all the way back in Chapter 2, Season 5, because there was gold on the map before that. Back in Chapter 2, Season 2, some players found gold at a cabin in Weeping Woods that you could collect. It would even go into your inventory just like the gold does today, but there wasn't anything you could do with it. This could have been an early look at the gold system before it eventually released, and Epic might have accidentally released it too soon. It's crazy that they're working on things months and sometimes years in advance, but sometimes it accidentally slips early into the game. Just like this next super rare item that got slipped in, number 20, the gray rapid fire SMG. Now, you guys know I love the rapid fire SMG, but if you remember back in Chapter 2, Season 4, when it was added, it only came in green up to gold rarity. So there wasn't really any way for you to get a gray rapid fire. At least that's what people thought. See, back then there was a thing called side grading, where you would use a resource to change your weapon. You could change your normal assault rifle into a burst, or an SMG into a rapid fire SMG. But wait, there is a gray SMG in the loot pool, so could you side grade it into a rapid fire? And the answer is yes, but most people didn't bother doing this, and it was the only way to get a gray rapid fire SMG. I would assume that less than 1,000 people have played with the gray rapid fire because it was just so inconvenient to get. This next rare item was also added in Chapter 2 Season 4, and Epic decided to do something crazy with it. The Midas Flopper was only obtainable with a pro fishing rod, and it had a 1% chance of being fished. Most people didn't know you needed a pro fishing rod, so most people never even got this flopper. But what did it do exactly? Well, it turned all your inventory into gold. If you had a bunch of green, gray, or blue weapons, it would instantly transform all of them into legendary rarity. It's definitely a very useful item, but because of how hard it was to get, I rarely saw it in the game. Now, this next one also has a 1 in 100 chance. At number 18, we gotta talk about the Vendetta Flopper. This is the same story as the Midas Flopper, but the Vendetta Flopper was not as useful. It was a 1 in 100 chance of being fished with a pro fishing rod, and all it did was mark anybody nearby once it was consumed, which is basically the same thing as just shooting a flare gun up into the sky. This was very underwhelming considering how rare this item was, and most people who got this were just disappointed that it wasn't a Midas Flopper. But now let's talk about an actually interesting rare item. At number 17, the dual silenced pistols. These were available in the Spy Games mode LTM, but the thing that made these very rare is they were one of the last items you could upgrade. In this LTM, you would play for 2 different factions, and as you played and earned XP, you could start unlocking unique abilities and weapons and items. This was one of the last items you could actually achieve, and not a lot of people played this LTM, let alone played it enough to unlock them, so very few people actually got to play with the dual silenced pistols. They were actually very good, and if you played with them, that puts you in a very rare class of Fortnite players. But there's also another item that goes under the radar that was also in Spy Games. That would have to be number 16, the compact Bandage Bazooka. It was a Bandage Bazooka that came in blue rarity, but it was compact, so it only took up 1 slot. It worked like a normal Bandage Bazooka, and it was one of the perk upgrades that you could get in Spy Games. The next rare item on this list has been forgotten by most people because it was in the game over 5 years ago. Now, recently Fortnite celebrated July 4th by turning the flare guns into the fireworks gun. But back in 2018, they actually turned the grenade launcher into the 4th of July launcher. This was a fireworks launcher that shot just a little bit slower than the regular grenade launcher, but looked a lot cooler. But it was only in the game for 7 days, so if you got your hands on this, you're one of the lucky few.
That's so sick, dude!
But were you lucky enough to play the Impossible Escape LTM before it got removed? It was a very unique mode, and Epic was definitely trying a lot of new things, including a brand new mythic in this mode called the Mythic Raptor Claw. So the whole point of the LTM was to repair a helicopter to leave the map, and you collected unique parts to fix the helicopter. But there was actually a quest with an NPC that would reveal parts of the map and show you where the equipment was. But you didn't really need to do that, and most people didn't. They could find the parts on their own. But if you did decide to do the side quests, you could find the Mythic Claw Raptor and give it to the NPC for more information about where the parts were. And honestly, this LTM was very special and unique in its own way, and I'm hoping that Epic tries more things like this in the future. Now, for this next rare item, we need to talk about one of the biggest updates of all time that happened in Chapter 2 Season 4. Of course, everybody was going crazy about the Stark Industry map update with all the new mythic weapons, but there was a whole other piece of content that got added that some people overlooked. On the map, you could find these gorgers that belong to Galactus, and these gorgers actually had these little minions that would fly around and shoot you, and if you shot them, they would drop and eventually explode. But if you were quick enough, you could actually pick up these minions and use the Galactus Gun. It was a little turret that you could carry and blast people with, and you had to keep it in your inventory because if you dropped it, it would explode after just a second or two. I feel like a lot of people forgot that this was an actual item in the game, so if you ended up playing with it, it's a lot more rare than you think. But what about a rare item that was only in one LTM? Just like the Mythic Bandage Bazooka, the Revive Grenade was only in the Bodyguard LTM. This was an item that you could use to instantly revive any of your teammates that got knocked. Since the Bodyguard LTM was about keeping your team alive, an item that instantly revived anybody who got knocked was going to be extremely useful. But if you actually want a match of Fortnite with this next item, then it is extremely rare. Number 11, the Knockback Gun from the Mothership. In Chapter 2, Season 7, the Mothership would show up and abduct players into a minigame where you actually use the Knockback Gun and the Chimera Jetpack. But there was a glitch that people figured out that would allow you to come back to the BR map with both the jetpack and the gun. And this thing didn't do any damage, but you could shoot players back into the storm and use the jetpack for mobility, so it was kind of useful. But since you actually had to do a bug to use this item, it was extremely rare to have it on the BR map. And speaking of the Fortnite map, were you there in Chapter 1 when we had a POI called Starry Suburbs? Yes, that was an actual POI on the map, and it was only there for a limited time, and it brought its own rare items. There was these stars that you could collect on the map that would give you gold loot, making it a very nice spot to drop. But on top of that, you even got a gold tactical SMG, which was never in the game to begin with. It was the only way to actually get this SMG. This map and the SMG was only in the game for a limited time during Season X Chapter 1, so not a lot of people actually got to use it. But everyone who played in Chapter 2 Season 6 used the Rift Gun. Does that not sound familiar? Well, it actually is a weapon that you use if you played, because during the Chapter 2 Season 6 launch event, everyone had to use a Rift Gun to close the rifts around the 0 point before they could actually get into the Battle Royale map. And we've seen it in some cinematics, but never actually in the game. Another item that was tied to a single event was the SypherPK Trap Tower. Yes, I had to put my own item in there, but guys, this was only available in the SypherPK Icon Cup. And a lot of people don't know I actually got my own exotic in the game, but I'm not the first person because Laserbeam also had the exotic Yeet launcher in his Fortnite Icon Cup. It was such a cool experience to bring this item to life because I pretty much told Epic, hey, what if we change the Porta bunker into a Porta trap tower? How hard would that be? It was really close to the time where my skin would launch, so they told me that it was probably not possible until a few weeks before the tournament happened. They sent me an email showing a prototype of the SypherPK trap tower, and it was perfect. In the tournament, if you got eliminations with the exotic trap tower, you would actually be scored on a separate leaderboard, giving you another chance to unlock the SypherPK skin for free.
I'm about to do a 500 IQ play.
Oh my god.
Oh my god!
No way!
The tournament only lasted 3 hours, and that was your only chance to actually use the exotic trap tower, and now it's gone forever. Unless you happen to use it in creative mode, because Epic accidentally put it in creative mode for a few hours before they realized their mistake. Just like these next mythic items that also accidentally came back in creative mode, the Marvel Mythics. Now, a lot of people who played back then remember the mythic Marvel items from the Avengers mode, like Captain America's shield and Thor's hammer and Hawkeye's bow, but a lot of people forget about a specific rifle, the Shatari Rifle, that if you were on the Shatari team, you would actually use. But most people didn't want to be on that team, so it wasn't very memorable and a lot of people forgot about it. But now let's talk about some mythics that no one remembers, even though these are the most recent. Do you guys remember the ball transformation and tire transformation mythics? Honestly, before I was making this video, I had no idea what these were. But these were actually in the Fracture event. I know, one of the worst events to ever happen. But there was these mythic items that you could get from completing the quests that would allow you to transform into a tire or a ball. And if you guys forgot about it, I don't blame you. That event was very forgetful, but it had 2 mythics that a lot of people don't remember. Okay, so we've gotten through the pretty rare items, but now we got to get to my top 5 rarest items in Fortnite. Number 5, the Test God Gun. Now, this item is supposed to be only in dev testing, but it was accidentally accessible in UEFN for a few hours, and a handful of players got to use it. It one-shots anything and instant reload, so it was pretty OP. And actually, Epic recently changed the rarity on this item to have a new rarity called the Impossible rarity. The old rarity being Transcendent, which we've talked about in other videos. It is very rare for anyone to have had these held in their character's hands and actually got to use them. So if that was you, congratulations. But now for number 4, the extremely rare Golden Mushroom. Back in chapter 2, some leakers discovered that mushrooms had a 1 in 10,000 chance of spawning in as a golden mushroom, but there was very little actual footage to prove this mythic item. So I put out a bounty. I was live and I told all my viewers to queue into playground mode repeatedly until someone found the golden mushroom. After about an hour, someone messaged me saying that they actually found the golden mushroom, and I ended up joining their lobby to find it on the ground. It was a golden mushroom. It was a lot bigger than the blue mushrooms, and what it did was heal you to full health instantly. And even fewer people found the next item on this list, number 3, the Mythic Flopper. When you were fishing in Fortnite Chapter 2, you had a 1 in 1 million chance of pulling out the Mythic Flopper. Getting this was absolutely insane, and what it did was even more ridiculous. You could throw this thing and one-shot any single player. 200 plus damage instantly, but it was a little bit hard to use and they could pick it up and throw it back at you. Only a handful of people in Fortnite even managed to get this thing, and even fewer people managed to capture footage of them using it. The worst part is in Chapter 3, there were no more sightings of the Mythic Flopper, and it's pretty much been confirmed that it is no longer in the game. A 1 in 1 million chance, yet there are 2 items somehow more rare than the Mythic Flopper. What could they possibly be? Well, number 2, the Eye of the Storm Tracker. During an update, Epic accidentally added this item. It was a complete mistake and a work in progress item that eventually never even came to the game, but Epic was very quick to remove it from the game after just about 26 to 30 minutes. Barely anybody got their hands on this thing, and Lachlan was one of the few people to actually have footage of this item. It was a work in progress item that was supposed to track the storm and show you the next circle on your minimap, but of course Epic scrapped this and maybe they changed it into the Storm Tracker Sniper instead. But now we need to talk about number 1, the rarest item in Fortnite history, the Zapatron. It is so rare that only one person has ever recorded themselves getting it. Similar to the Eye of the Storm Tracker, this item was accidentally added in an update and quickly removed in just under 30 minutes, but not before this guy got his hands on it. It was a super powerful item that came from Save the World and had its own unique ammo type. It shot out a laser that would instantly one-shot players, and it was just absolutely insane. This item will forever be a legend in Fortnite history, and I'm not sure if anything will ever be more rare. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like Fortnite history like I do, check out this video right here.